Now I know I'm supposed to ask Celsius about energy drinks. I think it's supposed to ask them about ready to drink beverages. I'm supposed to ask them about powders and all these different things that might go in the drink at some point or whatever. Ask them about all kind of mixtures of things like that in food, well, not food, beverage industry, right. But I don't think I want to ask them much about Celsius or much about the drink or much about the powder. I want to ask them how to get embarrassed in the courtroom for, for doing things according to the jury verdict that have come back about who is responsible. I want to ask Celsius about being fraudulent in practices that they have to not properly release the funds that they have agreed to release via contract. That's what I want to talk to Celsius about. Let's talk about it. All right, come on in here. Let us get ourselves started now. Many of you have probably already heard about this. This is an $82.6 million judgment that Flo Rida has won against Celsius Holdings Inc., which is a beverage company he has been in business with. First of all, let me just say, in case you don't know who Flo Rida is, he is a rapper who has, if you don't know his catalog, you probably know of some pretty large hits that he has had in his career. You know, go back and look it up. I ain't got time, but listen, you know, he's definitely topped some charts, set some records in the past, and had made a name for himself in the rap industry. And he endeavored to work with the company to find him business deals several years ago, probably back in the 2012, 2013, 2014 kind of time frame. And one of the deals that the company came back with was a potential endorsement deal with Celsius Holdings Inc. It's a beverage company that has, as of now, a lot of different offerings. So they have what they refer to as ready to drink, like like the can that he's holding up, ready to drink drinks, and also they develop powders and different things that I'm assuming go into other drinks that you can create yourself from those powders. But anyway, he ended up winning an $82.6 million judgment against these people because they don't want to pay their bills. Now, look, I'm just going to tell you from the front end that not only when you make these deals do you have to be smart in the way that you make the deals, you also have to be ready to enforce them. People are not going to come up off of this money, you guys. This is the moral of the story. You got to watch these people. You got to watch them. Put your good eye on these people because they will use your name, likeness, brand recognition, and everything else to try to get where they want to go, and then pull the rug up from under you and swear they just have no idea what's going on. Right? You gotta hold the feet to the fire. And that is what happened in this case. And I think a lot of people in the industry, actually in any industry where your name, image, and likeness and intellectual property is being used or licensed, people should take note of a few things through this development that maybe that they can do to ensure that they get their payday. Because that's what it's all about. I think 50 Cent somewhere is sitting back smiling that that he is seeing somebody follow up behind his ranks of doing food and beverage deals. I believe 50 Cent had to deal with vitamin water, that did quite well for him or what have you. So Flo Rida has done something similar in this way and has achieved his payday. Now, the headline, that's nice. That's nice. The $82.6 billion boom hit you in the face, won the judgment. That's great. But that's not necessarily just the most interesting part of this. I want to go through how this company decided that they were going to fight this, right, and drag this into a court, a court of law, civil court, a court of law. I want to hear the opening statements from this lady. We're going to go through it. You just give me just a second. What's this lady's name? I don't know. Let me look it up. Hold on. All right, now this is the lady right here. This is the lady who's supposed to come up here and give y'all this work. Rebecca Placencia, I believe. It's hard to tell from the audio, because in the court they just don't believe in having no proper equipment or nothing. It's just you do your best, okay? Audio and visual, whatever we can get. But anyway, Rebecca Placencia, I believe, of Holland and Knight. She's a partner there. Okay, so she's about to give you this work. Okay, this is opening for the defense in this matter, and it's going to shape the events at hand for you. Now, let's see what we got.
This is my opportunity to give you a little bit of background about this case and to help you understand what this trial is really about. And it comes down to one word: greed. The entire premise of this lawsuit is based on greed. And I do not say that lightly. I'm going to back up my statements. And throughout this trial, we're going to show you why there's no substance to the plaintiff's claims and why this is nothing more than a money grab.
Oh, that's simple enough, right? There you have it. She says it comes down to one word, Miss Placencia says. Greed, if I made that out correctly with this horrific audio from this courtroom here. Greed. That's it. That's all. Couldn't be at the worst, or I should say, at worst, it couldn't be just a misunderstanding. It couldn't be a simple miscalculation of books. Couldn't be confusion. It's just greed, and it's a shakedown, right? People just coming. They see the stock prices up, and now people just want to shake us down for some money that they're not owed, right? That is your opening, and that is what you intend to have these jurors believe is the reasoning for being in this courtroom. Okay, well, we already know how that ended, but let's continue. And of course, I'm going to skip around. Don't be fooled and believe that this is this person's opening or any part of these proceedings straight through. This is cut up because we don't have the time or the attention for all of this foolishness. Now, let us proceed.
Now, some of you may be familiar with Celsius, some of you may not, so I'll give you a very brief background into the company. Celsius is a manufacturer of healthy lifestyle energy drinks and supplements, mostly cans, also some powders. You can mix them with water, take to the gym, take to travel. But our story here really begins in February of 2014, because that's when a company by the name of D3M Licensing Group, which is run by David Gold, D3M is one of the plaintiffs in this case, approached Jerry David, sort of out of the blue, and said, hey, I represent Flo Rida, would you be willing to enter into a celebrity endorsement and licensing deal with Flo Rida, whose real name is Tremarco, one of the other plaintiffs in this case. So this was interesting because, as I mentioned, Celsius is still trying to break into a pretty tough market and is still working on growing its brand awareness. So they say, we've all seen celebrity endorsements of different products. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's try this. So Celsius enters into negotiations with D3M and Flo Rida's representatives. The second part to this 2014 agreement is the licensing part, where Celsius agreed to create a new powder product and co-brand it with Flo Rida. Now, I don't think I need to stand here and explain to you what a co-brand is. It's pretty self-evident. It's a co-brand. You have two brands, Celsius and Flo, and you put them together. And in this agreement, Celsius says it intends to develop and manufacture a modified version of one of its core products, one of its pre-existing products, and co-brand it using Flo's brand. And so that's what they came up with. And you already saw this in plaintiff's opening argument, but that orange tub I showed you, okay, well, totally different. It's berry flavored now. It's a 40-count tub. And you can see this is a true co-brand. You have Celsius' brand on one side. You've got Flo Rida's logo here. Flo Fusion, his name Flo. So Flo's name is in the brand itself. It's a true co-brand. And
Okay, now you just heard that lady say that they modified not only the packaging, but she said they modified pre-existing products that they already had. She said they changed the flavor. She said, look, now it's berry flavored now. And we also changed the packaging, da 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 da. So important to note for me, if I'm understanding correctly, sound like she said they changed the packaging as well as the flavors and the actual product itself. I don't give a damn if you put an extra, sprinkle some a dash of mint or what. I really don't care. When you modify your product and it becomes a new SKU item and a new product offering, it's a new product. I really don't care how much. I mean, sucks for you that you. Well, I don't know. It's good or bad. You didn't have to modify much and created a new product, or it sucks that you created a product so close to other products and just kind of changed the flavor. I don't know. Whatever. It's up for the consumer to decide. But you said you modified the flavor of the darn product as well as the packaging, not just the packaging, right? So then that is co-branding, right? Okay, and that's important because later on they're going to say that they changed the packaging back to some other packaging without his stuff on it, but didn't change the products at all. And he shouldn't be getting credit for being able to count that because apparently they say, oh, it wasn't selling. It wasn't selling the way we wanted it to sell. And then they said, well, okay, well, how did you determine that it wasn't selling? Do you have separate SKU or a separate identification, some sort of identification for metrics between the packaging that was of the same product that was with Flo Rida versus the one that was with his stuff taken off? Oh no, it's the same thing. Oh, okay. Well, listen. How in the hell did you track that if you cannot show us where the difference happened between when you claim it wasn't selling and when it was? And this is very important because of the fact that they had metrics for him to hit for him to be able to get additional compensation based upon their agreement in 2014, and then that was later extended in 2016. It was important that he hit certain metrics when it came to within a certain term, which may have been the term of the contract, and then within a certain period. I can't remember if it was a year or a calendar year, 24 months or whatever, or within just the whole term of the contract. I believe it was the whole term of the contract. Either way, those metrics were specific to that for him to hit in order to obtain additional stock compensation and additional monies that would to be released or stocks to be released upon hitting those goals in terms of certain sales numbers as well as certain units sold, right?
so wait, let's go back to those benchmarks because we spoke about that bonus goal of $1 million revenue. The other benchmark, which you've already seen, is the 690,000 unit incentive goal, right? And what's important about this language is that it's tied to what the company sells. This clause says once the company sells a total of 690,000 units, and look at that, of co-branded products, it's capitalized. This is a defined term in the agreement. And you'll see that in the original whereas clause, where they defined co-branded product as that modified powdered product. We were going to modify pre-existing product, powder form, and co-brand. So that's what we're talking about. The boxes and the 40-count tubs. There's your co-branded product. So we launched this product, and the product tanks. It just doesn't sell. You're going to hear testimony that it just didn't go well. Everybody wanted it to do well. Obviously, it would have been beneficial for all the parties involved. There would have been more shares issued. Celsius would have generated a lot of revenue on this product. It would have been great. But sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. And the product didn't do well. You're going to hear testimony that GNC actually discontinued those 40-count tubs and sent a bunch of them back to us. We had to sell this huge inventory at a steep discount. Eventually, when we couldn't sell them, we had to destroy them because there's an expiration date on these products. There's like a 2-year shelf life. And the boxes just didn't do well either. It just didn't work out. It was no one's fault. There's no allegation that it's anyone's fault that the products didn't work out. But it didn't work. And so I just want you to keep that in the back of your mind. But the 2014 agreement ends, and the parties have to figure out what they're going to do. And they actually do decide that they want to continue working together.
So the business deal went so horrible in terms of this agreement that you all had with Flo Rida and the other plaintiffs. However the arrangement was, the deal was so bad that you decided after the sales were down and nobody was meeting metrics, nothing was happening to your liking. Your stores were returning inventory and it was a mess, and you all had to write things off and everything. It was so bad that you decided you wanted to re-up with a new contract, or a renewal of the previous contract from 2014 in 2016. The agreement, the business was so terrible that we just needed to do that one more time. Really?
So they do negotiate a new contract. Now this is in dispute. Plaintiffs say this is not a new contract. This is an extension of the original contract. The problem with their argument is that everything changed in this new contract. Everything. The deliverables, which is basically what Flo had to do, what D3N had to do under this contract, the compensation provisions, it is all different.
Well, that's an interesting take on things, but I wonder what Jerry David, the former CEO of the company, had to say about the character and nature of the agreement in 2016. Because the way you make it sound, it's a whole different, separate thing. It's so different they can never be seen together as a renewal from the 2014 to 2016, right? Well, let's see.
Do you recall having any conversations with Flo or his team in connection with either the negotiation or the performance of this 2016 agreement at any point in time?
I don't recall any specific one because in my mind it was a continuation of the other agreement, and it was just had different numbers in it, but it was the same structure of the other one.
Boy, the plaintiff team hurried up and turned off the rest of that tape after that. I would too. Because that's all I needed. And be done with it. It was a continuation, meeting of the minds. That's what the CEO thought it was. That's what Flo thought it was. Okay, and what's your next point?
I want to explain to you why the plaintiff's argument that a unit is an individual stick doesn't make any sense. So if you look at this slide here, if you are looking at the average wholesale price of what Celsius sold that 14-count box of, it's around $14. I'm approximating here a little bit. So if we were to sell 690,000 units at $14 each, it's about a $10 million gross revenues for the company. So it makes sense that for such a huge, what do they call that in sales, big, hairy, audacious goals, that for such a huge revenue building, such huge revenue that you'd issue 500,000 shares, right? But under the plaintiff's theory, they're saying that each individual stick is a unit. So they're claiming that although we only ever sold this is going to equal 14 units because there are 14 of these in there. And if they're using this little individual stick as a single unit, we actually don't have in our system an average wholesale price for the sticks because Celsius never sold sticks, but if the average wholesale price for a 14 pound box is $14, and you divide that by 14, you get one. So let's just approximate $1 a stick if sold individually. That's $690,000 in gross revenue. Why on earth would Celsius agree to issue 500,000 shares for $690,000 in gross revenue? That doesn't even include the cost of making the product and shipping it and marketing it. It just doesn't make sense.
Wait a minute. Now you entering into agreement that turns out to not have been favorable to you because you didn't think enough about the agreement initially doesn't make the contract invalid. It doesn't make it to where all of a sudden the contract enforcement is out the window because you had no clue. I mean, like, let's just think about this. Get in line for the amount of music artists who feel like they had their whole life taken away from them through random contracts that just did not serve them in the long run, right? 360 deals and what have you. So, first of all, an enforcement of a contract because you happen to not be smart in the way that you negotiated a contract for yourself in and of itself is not a reason that the contract itself is not enforceable. And the plaintiffs presented all kind of information that you all were tracking certain metrics by the individual pack units and were promoting sales to some of your to distributors or whatever, or however you want to refer to them, your vendors, that you were promoting sales based upon the individual unit price as opposed, or the price of the items within the pack as opposed to the whole box. So it's just wrong.
On our price list, there might be a line item there on a per stick basis for independent retailers.
I'm going to mark this as Exhibit 2. And does this appear to be a Celsius product specifications and pricing sheet for distributors?
For distributors, yes.
And I would move down to the next zone, which is the item packets. We have the Celsius Flow Fusion Orange and Celsius Flow Fusion Berry in both the packets and the box.
Yep.
So isn't it correct that as of December of 2014, Celsius had available both in the singles and the boxes for sale to distributors of the on-the-go sticks?
Yes.
And if you look across for the MSRP for a single packet, it's listed as $1.43, is that correct?
Yes.
And then we have the MAP pricing of $1, which if I understood your testimony, any retailer could not sell an individual stick to a customer below $1 per this guide. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then we also see a UPC code. There's a UPC code for both each individual stick packet as well as the box of 14. Is that correct?
Yes.
There's, if I'm correct, other than the Flow Fusion powder product, there's no product listed on your price sheet to your distributors for any other powdered products other than the Flow Fusion powdered product. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if a benchmark had been reached under this agreement under your view, then at that point in time the company would have to complete paperwork in order to then issue stocks. Part of the paperwork would be to enter into this attached agreement here called a stock transfer agreement, correct?
Yes.
And that required the company to issue and then transfer the various stocks to the recipient. Is that correct?
Correct.
So what they did was they decided we're going to take his likeness off of all the packaging and still sell it, but not say that it count towards the branding deal within the terms of the contract. It's the same product. And they said, listen, now I'm just ready for the verdict because through everything we have shown, you can just you already know the end of the story before we got started, but in any event, you see what really led up to it. So Judge, please come on in here and read what the Celsius Holdings Inc. is being found to be responsible for. Read the verdict and use all the appropriate terms like fraudulent and all these other things they are being found responsible for that culminate into this magnificent crescendo of like $82.6 million owed to this gentleman and the other plaintiffs. Go ahead and read.
Here we go. In the Circuit Court of the 17th Judicial Circuit, Interpol, Broward County, Florida, case number CAC 21-8997, Strong Arm Productions USA Inc., Kamar Dillard, publicly known as Flo Rida, and D3M Licensing Group LLC plaintiffs versus Celsius Holdings Inc. Verdict, we the jury find as follows. Count 1, breach of 2014 agreement, bonus compensation provision, 250,000 shares. Question 1. Did the plaintiffs prove that Celsius breached the 2014 agreement by establishing that Celsius achieved $1 million in gross cumulative co-branded revenues in any 12-month period during the term? Yes. Question 2. On what date did Celsius breach this provision of the 2014 agreement? April 30th, 2021. And in parentheses, this provision was breached on February 2018. Question 3. Did the plaintiffs prove that the term of the 2014 agreement was extended by the 2016 agreement? Yes. Question 4. Did the defendant prove that the plaintiffs waived their right to compensation from Celsius under this provision of the 2014 agreement? No. Question 5. Did the defendant prove that the breach of this provision of the 2014 agreement occurred before May 4th, 2016? Yes. Question 6. Did the plaintiffs prove that Celsius fraudulently concealed information relating to the breach of this provision? Yes. Question 7. Did the plaintiffs prove that Celsius is equitably estopped from asserting the statute of limitations defense to the breach of this provision? Yes. Question 8. What are the plaintiff's damages as a result of the breach of this provision? $27,545,000 in parentheses 250,000 shares at $110.
That shit stank, don't it?
$1.18. Question 9. This is count 1, breach of the 2014 agreement, incentive compensation provision, 500,000 shares. Question 9. Did the plaintiffs prove that Celsius breached the 2014 agreement by establishing that Celsius sold a total of 690,000 units of co-branded product through its channels of distribution following the execution of this agreement? Yes. Question 10. On what date did Celsius breach this provision of the 2014 agreement? April 30th, 2021. In parentheses, this provision was breached on February 2015, close parentheses. Question 11. Did the plaintiffs prove that with respect to units of co-branded product, an individual stick counts as a unit? Yes. Question 12. Did the defendant prove that the plaintiffs waived their right to compensation from Celsius under this provision of the 2014 agreement? No. Question 13. Did the defendant prove that the breach of the 2014 agreement occurred before May 4th, 2016? Yes. Question 14. Did the plaintiffs prove that Celsius fraudulently concealed information relating to the breach of this provision? Yes. Question 15. Did the plaintiffs prove that Celsius is equitably estopped from asserting the statute of limitations defense to the breach of this provision? Yes. Question 16. What are the plaintiff's damages as a result of the breach of this provision? $55,090,000. That's 500,000 shares at $110.18. Count 2, breach of the 2016 agreement. Question 17. Did the plaintiffs prove that Celsius breached the 2016 agreement by failing to pay royalties under Section 5.3 after October 11, 2018? Yes. Question 18, did the defendant prove that plaintiffs waived their right to additional compensation from Celsius under Section 5.3 of the 2016 agreement? No. Question 19, what are the plaintiff's damages as a result of the breach of the 2016 agreement? $5,450. So say we all, signed by the foreperson on January 18th, 2023.
And there you have it. So we started, like some of the action movies. You start with the end and work your way back through what happened to lead up to it. Okay, so we got the verdict from the jury, who came back, as you would expect, in favor of Flo Rida and his Strong Arm Production company, as well as the third party that Flo Rida worked with in order to secure the deal in the first place. So I believe the split is supposed to be 75-25. So I think the third party company that they work with to secure that deal, that's a part of the lawsuit, is supposed to get 25% of the award, as they were supposed to get 25% of the actual deal as well. And then 75%, of course, goes to Flo Rida in whichever capacity that it breaks down on his side of the arrangement. Yeah, so that's the extent of it there. It's just really important to me. I think it's a lot of things that came out of this. That you got to enforce your contracts. You got to be smart about entering into your contracts. Think about ownership, and then also in the midst of thinking about ownership and generational wealth, making sure you're staying on top of the matter. To me, it took way too long for following up on this agreement, especially if it's an agreement worth this amount. The share price shot up much later on in the agreement, but still, I would imagine that when you do this type of agreement, you want to make sure that there is some sort of provision in the contract for you to see and have access to the appropriate records from the company in order to determine what your stake is, and what that if once you've hit your metrics, you need access to that information, because you can't just trust the company themselves to let you know when you've hit these particular metrics that you're looking for.
Why didn't you ask for any paperwork from Jerry David or from Celsius?
I never asked for any paperwork from Jerry David because I trusted him like family.
Looking back on it now, do you feel misled?
I definitely feel misled.
Why?
Because I trusted him like family, and just speaking with him, he seemed like a guy that had my best interest.
And what have you learned now that makes you believe that what you were told then wasn't accurate?
The fact that now, as far as my royalties and things of that nature are not being recognized at this point. I did everything as far as doing my part. And, with all due respect, the parties that be, I trusted them, and they did not do their part. And that's why I'm here today.
How can you trust the other? I mean, the entity, their job is to do what's in their best interest. Their job is also to faithfully execute contracts in good faith, but a lot of times, of course, that does not happen, which is why you have your own side and due diligence that you need to take care of. You need access to the information to be able to prove what's happening with that company as it relates to the metrics that you are being judged on for compensation. And so apparently that was not a part of this agreement, even though a lot of it was implied, because of the fact that you would have to have access to that information to determine whether or not you hit your metrics, right? But that needs to be in the contract. Definitions of different terms like royalty and things like that need to be in the contract when they're so important. If this deal is for generational wealth and for you to have equity, you need to protect that and think about how to protect that contractually, right? And then, even with those errors being, rampant through this case, there was still enough information for Flo Rida to prove his case in court. So that's really good. And I would say, in addition to that, you definitely want to make sure that when you are having these type of contracts, you're keeping up with them much more, on a much more consistent basis. You have somebody, you have a management company, hell, they need to have them manage it. Where are the books? Where are we in our metrics? Send me official records. Also, it's a publicly traded company. Go through the publicly traded information to see, what kind of money they're making, what they're bringing in, what type of profit, what type of revenue. Look at their portfolio. Does it make sense that they're making a certain amount of money and they're $8 billion company, and you haven't hit a million, a million co-branded items sold, or you haven't hit 690,000 units sold overall, and it's an $8 billion company. Like, come on, like let's be mindful of these things and watch our agreements so that we don't lose out of things that we are due. Right. So that's really, those are some critical things. Make sure that key things are in the contracts. Keep up with these type of agreements to make sure that you're getting your just due in a timely manner. And watch out, because not only is it difficult to get the type of knowledge to strike up these type of deals and have the brand equity to be able to secure them, you also have to enforce them. All right, I appreciate you guys. That's another episode of OPM and Beyond. I'll holler at you on the next one. Peace.
I can never doubt myself, I know better. All of you critics be acting like you know better. Blowing the smoke, but I know when the dust settles that I'm in my element. It's evident that there's levels to the game. All of those dark nights I got then, breaking my back to make it out, got me feeling like rain. I ain't never need your help, I know you wishing me well. A penny for your thoughts, but seeing no change. I snap for the sun like Diddy. The riches got a mad ass son, I'm like Billy. I ain't never switch up, whole team with me. Putting on for my city like OAGZ.